What's up, guys? I would ask how we're doing, but this is, this is just not the news that I wanted to have. Not the reason to go early for Wednesday Link either. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We're going to get into it. Thomas, how we doing?
Surprised. I mean, I was not on Twitter whenever the news dropped about Nolan Smith and other Eagle players. Jakorian Bennett also out. We'll talk about that. You texted me and said, Nolan, I do think that it's not the end of the world. You know, when I see IR, my mind immediately goes to he's done for the season. That is not the case right now, as we'll get into. Nolan Smith is going to be gone seemingly a month, maybe a little bit longer, but the week 9 bye is what they're looking at right now. Still a surprise, though, because there was zero indication Nolan Smith was hurt. We knew Jakorian Bennett was. There's also some other injuries going on at practice today. Right now, we can talk about very interesting heading into a Tampa Bay game against an undefeated Bucks who also have injuries. There's a lot going on today.
Yes, there is. And it's just, it's unfortunate because we were not expecting that. People just jumping on, wonder what's happening if you're late to the game, everything there. Obviously, you see it on their screen, so I put it up officially. But Adam Schefter, sources, Eagles, Nolan Smith, strained triceps Sunday, now is expected to be sidelined through the team's November 2nd bye. He could return for the November 10th game at Green Bay. Smith had tricep surgery after the week of the Super Bowl, and then that's the re-aggravation that he had against the Rams. And it's unfortunate, I saw some people posting some videos and going, he wasn't really using his arm. He wasn't. I mean, it's clear, it's obvious if you go back and look at it, and obviously reading between the lines of what Adam Schefter's saying. I try to be like as optimistic as we can be about it. Like it's not good. There's no way to sugarcoat that part, but it's like at least it's not a longer term, right? I mean, it's going to be 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. You get the bye week. That's an extra built-in element there as well. You've been only kind of having 3 to 4 pass rushers every single game, so it's been a little thin to begin with, Thomas, and now you lose Nolan Smith. It's not been as bad. I mean, we can get into this as well. I know some people have lots of different thoughts on it. It's not been pass rush in a sense. Has not been as bad as 3 sacks, which is, I think, tied for like the 3rd worst in the league, because pressure rate's been there and the defense has been good enough. I am a strong believer of the sacks eventually will come. We're going to come, still probably will. But Nolan Smith is a big loss. And it may be even more so on the run defense, which has been suspect. And you lose probably one of your best edge defenders when it comes to stopping the run. So, it's not good, but, we've seen this team overcome some injuries before, so I'm still believing in that. It's just, out of all the injuries, everybody knows that's the least one that I wanted to see happen.
Well, I do think, like you mentioned, you wonder how close to 100% he's been the entire first 3 weeks of the NFL season. You wonder if Darius Smith's signing was simply Howie wanting to add, some extra pass rush help, or if they knew Nolan Smith was not playing at 100%, and maybe something like this could happen. You never know. I think Darius Smith can fill in pretty darn well. He's much better in the run than Josh Uche has been. Uche clearly is more of a situational pass rusher than an every down defensive lineman like Nolan Smith or edge rusher. So I think they're going to be just fine. They also have Azeez Ojulari, sitting on the bench, essentially, along with Ogbo Okoronkwo, guys that they won't actually activate on game day. They don't want to cut or trade, and so now Ojulari seemingly will get some more reps. He'll be active this weekend. You almost guarantee that. What happens to Patrick Johnson? Another great question here. The hope, though, that Nolan Smith can go away for 4 weeks, get as healthy as possible on that tricep, and then get back to 100% for a playoff run. And I think there's a serious possibility where they could let him stay longer on IR, because if his tricep is a matter of a percentage, right? 4 weeks gets you to 80%, 5 weeks to 85, 6 to 9, right? If there's some sort of gradual increase in his ability to use that tricep, the longer he sits out, and Philadelphia's getting production from a Zadarius Smith, Azeez Ojulari. Obviously, Jilks Hunt has got to go ahead and step up a little bit. Then they're going to be just fine. So this is a tough injury. It is not the end of the world. It's not going to derail Philadelphia's plans to win a bunch of games through October and hopefully go to November for that tough stretch later on in the season. But it is a tough blow. But it feels like Nolan Smith has not been 100% yet this year. And hopefully this will help him get to that point, because when you really need him is going to be the postseason run.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very, very valid point. If it's 100%, we'll take it later in the year, because if they're still getting wins, that's ultimately the most important thing that matters. So if he's playing his best football come January, February, then we'll absolutely sign up for that. Joaquin with the 2. Appreciate all the super chats. We'll get to those in order. We do appreciate you guys. My heart hurts. Azeez for Hendrickson. LOL. Try to make some ridiculous
Probably not.
Madden trades
Probably
here.
not.
But
But maybe. Sure.
Iron Pin with a 5. This is the beauty of the best GM in the game, not good losing a starter, but we have some decent depth on the edge. Go Birds.
Yes.
There's some
Yes.
optimism, yes, as you were talking about, Azeez Ojulari. You finally get to see him, Obo Okoronkwo, Darius Smith, maybe in a starting role. We'll see. There's other news here, and I will share this too, just because we've had lots of other instances through the chat, so I'm sure we'll be bouncing back and forth. Make sure to drop a like for us if you haven't already. We do appreciate that. SEMA with a 5. They are speculating that Bond and Campbell are both injured too. I'm not believing it until the IR comes out later. They are injured, and I'll put up the picture here that Thomas has retweeted as well. Now they're not on the IR, so that's a win in a sense, but they are injured. As you can see on your screen, that is Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell that are sitting off practice today, with Zach Bond having some sort of brace on his left leg. And then you've got Jahad Campbell also with a sleeve on his right leg. That's a little bit concerning, to say the least.
Well, and the brace is massive. I mean, this is not some sort of little knee wrap or something like that. That's a full-on lower leg brace. Now, Zach Bond did technically practice today. I'm sure he's going to be listed as limited in the coming injury report, a couple minutes away, most likely because they're almost done with practice. But Jahad Campbell did not, and he had a leg sleeve on that knee. And so you start to kind of wonder what's going on here. Obviously, if they were going to go on IR, that would have happened 20 minutes ago when Nolan Smith and Jakorian Bennett all went on IR. They look like they should play this weekend, but Philadelphia's banged up, and this is really welcome to the first half of the NFL season. This happens every single year. We tend to forget it, especially because 2024 was such a healthy season for Philadelphia overall, but you do deal with banged-up players here and there. Good news, if you want some good injury news, Josh, how about Lane Johnson back at practice today from that neck stinger suffered on the first tush push of the entire game? Talk about that. That'd be interesting. And then also Adoree Jackson. I thought Adoree Jackson was seemingly going to miss the game this weekend. With Jakorian Bennett now on IR, you're worried that, oh my gosh, is Rick's going to start on the outside if Kelee Ringo were to get hurt? No, looks like Adoree Jackson was back at practice today, so he now has a shot to play this weekend. So there is some good news there, but the Birds are very much banged up right now.
Yes, yep. A lot of reshuffling. And as you say, too, it's like, look, we could it may just be management. It may just be, hey, some limited practices. They'll be fine to go on Sunday, and no concerns, at least as far as the linebackers go. But if it's just to miss a game here or there, it's not like we're talking about a lot of other teams. You look around the league, you got guys that are out for 6 to 8 weeks for a full season that are, lots of injuries that teams are dealing with. So, I even think back to the Rams game when Zach Bond had to briefly go out and was looked at in the medical tent, and he came out and was riding the bike. You assume that probably was something to do with his knee. He went back into the game and he finished it. So I think that's also maybe a understandable element for myself and lots of us that are like, what in the world? This is crazy. Because just about all these players finished the game, where we didn't get massive reports like, oh my gosh, hey, Nolan Smith is injured. He's gone to the medical tent. He's not coming back. It's like he finished the game, but then coming away from it, you're going, yeah, okay, so you got some strained, different muscle injuries in other areas that guys need to take a break from. The beauty is, and as Zach Berman shared, I think others as well, none of the injuries. I mean, look at all the guys who went to the IR, Nolan Smith, Darius Cooper, and Jakorian Bennett. None of those injuries require surgery. So it needs time.
That's big.
And that's at least the win there, too, because we're not talking about a much longer lingering injury. I know people asking about Nakobe Dean as well. He would be eligible following next week or following this week's game to potentially come back with the PUP list designation. But even then, we haven't heard further advances, I guess, in terms of his timeline. Not that we won't. It could happen all of a sudden. Where it's like, hey, Nakobe Dean, he's starting to get ready and ramp things back up. But in terms of this week, you're looking at Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, both probably limited once we get the official report, but most likely limited for today. And then you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. You got some other depth backup options. Smile London.
Good point too.
It's not call it what it is. It's not the best case scenario for sure, but the Bucs are banged up as well. They got lots of injuries. They have 3 offensive line, 2 for sure that are out. Tristan Wirfs, maybe he's kind of trying to. He's back at practice today, but we'll see if he's able to go by Sunday. Same for Chris Godwin. Mike Evans is for sure out, so that's
for sure out.
Happen. Yep. So it's all across. It's like you said, Thomas. It's welcome to this part of the NFL, this stage of the season where injuries start happening. Our fantasy teams get affected for some people, but it's still okay. I think we're going to be all right.
Well, and welcome to playing the Bucs. This time last year, we forget Philadelphia, no Devontae Smith, no A.J. Brown, They did not play Reed Blankenship in the second half of that football game, and they lost in the fourth quarter. Jalen Carter and it was Cam Jurgens, who were both out, seemingly due to
Yeah, yeah.
weather and cramping. And so they
And
were
did you say Reed
severely injured in
Blankenship?
that game.
Because he
Yeah,
also.
I said Reed
Yeah,
too.
okay, I
Yep,
didn't catch.
Reed
Yeah, yeah, yep.
in the second half. They were extremely banged up, and now they're way healthier going into this game, which, by the way, the lone win at Tampa, obviously early in the 2023 season,
Mm-hmm.
they had A.J. Brown. The losses they didn't could be a factor there as well. But I do think Tampa losing Mike Evans and obviously having backups along the offensive line is massive. Like, I know Emeka Ibuka is a really big deal. He's had a great start to the season because teams are so focused on Mike Evans because it's Mike Evans, right? Now you can put Quinn Mitchell and Emeka Ibuka. Maybe Godwin comes back. Maybe he doesn't. They're saying he practiced just now today. He's got to have a lot of things go right this week in order to play. He'll probably be on a pitch count if he does. An ankle injury is pretty brutal last season, and so don't expect 100% Chris Godwin on Sunday. But losing Mike Evans and Philadelphia also potentially having Adoree Jackson back this weekend. I know everyone hates on Adoree Jackson. He had a pretty good game this past week. I mean, a very good game.
Mm-hmm.
All things considered against the Rams receivers. That is advantage Philadelphia, and they have a real chance to go ahead and go down there and get a win, go to 4-0. And then it is an easier part of the schedule. I know Denver, but then eventually you play the Giants twice in 3 weeks. I forget who's in between the Giants as well.
The Vikings.
But the Vikings, what is Carson Wentz in that team? Maybe it's J.J. McCarthy, who knows? That is the easiest stretch of their schedule, knock on wood, that they're going to have. It's that next 4 games after this weekend. They get out of that with 1 loss, maybe 4 wins, who knows? Then, regardless of how long Nolan Smith is out, they have at least built a padding in the NFC and potentially the NFC East as well.
Yes, that they have. So and there's they got some decent options as you're talking about with some of those matchups, and you think about too, Mike Evans. I was looking at this earlier for the video that was actually about to drop 10 minutes or so before the news of Nolan Smith. So maybe it's a good thing in a way, because I would have shared that and then been like, oh, well, okay, that's inaccurate. But as far as the Bucs go, Mike Evans, without Mike Evans, it is like a Lane Johnson effect. Because Mike Evans and the Bucs, if they don't have him, they're a 3-9 record. Like that's like Lane Johnson numbers. If Lane Johnson's not playing for the Eagles, the record is abysmal, and it's the same thing for Mike Evans. So I'm totally with you on that. It's a massive loss combined with the fact of what Philly is still going to have. It should be all right. Both teams are dealing with it. It's not like it's all on the Eagles, but yes, it doesn't change the fact that Nolan Smith being out until probably November 10th, maybe longer. At least at that point would be the earliest game that he could come back for in Green Bay. It's not good. We hate it. We don't like to see it. Iron Pin with a 5. Yes, I saw this one too. Maybe I should just run through all of the official roster moves just to make sure everyone's up to date. But it says Quez signed to the practice squad.
Yes, he was.
He's back. LOL. Yes, Quez Watkins.
Is back. Wearing 46,
back.
I believe, is his brand new number, which is really gross. I don't know. I mean, the only thing for Quez Watkins is kick return, right? He's done some kick return in his past. Philadelphia clearly has reshuffled the decks with Xavier Gibson coming to the practice. Or is Xavier Gibson on the active roster or practice squad? I'm forgetting now. I think he's on the active because they cut Kenyon Green, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. So they bring back, obviously, or they add an actual kick returner. They can elevate Quez Watkins. They're trying to figure out kick return right now, and that's what Quez is for. Quez is not a wide receiver by any stretch of the imagination in terms of, no offense to him, in terms of actually making the Eagles, 3 practice squad elevations because of being a wide receiver. They have many other people who can do that if push comes to shove. It's for kick return things. So crazy that Quez Watkins is back in Philadelphia, but it's not that big a deal.
He is, though. He is back, and so
he is back.
As wild as that is, but yes, it's not a. I don't think we're seeing him any sort of major snaps. As far as the official, all the news, the roster moves, and everything, because it's hard to keep track of. So I'll just run through this again. I'm sure most people have seen this probably by now, but if you have not, to recap. And then I'll also just get into a little bit. I don't appreciate whatever, but I don't appreciate the way that they worded this thing and try to like squeeze in Nolan Smith had it out of all. Not that no one else is
crazy.
Important, but it's
right.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the big just news dump from the Eagles. We've signed safety Marcus Epps, tight end Cameron Latu, and cornerback Perry Nickerson to the active roster, and placed cornerback Jakorian Bennett, wide receiver Darius Cooper, and outside linebacker Nolan Smith on injured reserve. We've also signed linebacker Lance Dixon, defensive back Eli Ricks, and wide receiver Quez Watkins to the practice squad. I know those all are like legit moves. You have to make them, everything else there. But it's like it just jumbled everything together to go, wait, hang on, what? We got Nolan on the IR. We got Jakorian Bennett. We got Darius Cooper. You're also signing guys to make up for the roster spots. So then you're trying to go, okay, so is there another added spot? Is there another opening that they could make. And then there's the practice squad, of course, because they've elevated a bunch of different guys. The math works out there, but it was just kind of like a complete word vomit almost on a tweet and then try to make sense of it.
Well, let's just say they like Perry Nickerson. I mean, Perry Nickerson had a very good training camp, a very good preseason. They think he can actually play, and it's no surprise that they would go ahead and bring him onto the active roster. So he, to me, would get the go if you were to have Noah Dory-Jackson and then Keely Ringo got hurt. It would then be Perry Nickerson. Obviously, Mac McWilliams in the mix there as well, but they want to kind of keep him maybe at nickel. Maybe they move him back out. Either way. But he would be ahead of Eli Ricks, is what I'm trying to say here, is that Eli Ricks on practice squad, Perry Nickerson on the active roster, that is what they think overall in terms of the two. They like Nickerson more, and they think that he's a decent player. So a nice addition, in my opinion.
Yes. Yep. I think so. He brings some of that, I don't know, fight. Doesn't stay off coverage too much. So I like that, at least in the preseason and what we saw from training camp. So against the Bucks, if it's just Emeka Egbuka and then you have some other reserves, or if it's Chris Godwin, a combination of those, should be all right. But yeah, they're got some losses on defense. Again, I saw a few other comments, so I'm sure it's going to be back and forth of people either getting this news a little bit late, joining whenever you do. But Zach Bond, limited practice. It's not that he was not out there at all, but he was wearing a brace. So there is the news there. We keep an eye on that. I'm sure that he will play. I would be surprised if he does not play Sunday. Just the fact that even a limited, if it was like something to do knee injury, longer term, anything of even significant risk, I think they'd go, no, let's not even practice you today, right? Like it would not be that surprising to go, why chance it? So the fact that he's even out there, yes, it's a brace, but the fact that he's out there is probably good news that he's going to end up playing on Sunday.
I think so. And listen, as we've talked about with Howie Roseman many, many times, his big strength the past couple of seasons, the past two, has been having really good depth. I mean, Oren Burks was waiting in the wings, and down goes Nakobe Dean. It was like, oh no, here comes Oren Burks. What do we have here? Oren Burks was lights out in the entire postseason. He was really, really good. They like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. a lot. If Jahad Campbell had not been drafted and they drafted another cornerback, or they went, whatever at 31, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. would be the starter this year. And they talked all training camp long how Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is like, up and then down a little bit and up and down a little bit. So regardless of what happens with the two starters ahead of him, they love Trotter Jr. And as you mentioned, after next week, Nakobe Dean can come back, and he's not going to sit on the bench. I mean, he's going to get some reps, and he's going to play because he was so good last season, as long as the knees, checks out and is 100%. So we just got to go ahead and wait and see. It's a big brace on Bond's knee. You don't like to see that. But the fact that they had him running in a big brace, I think, is pretty good overall.
Yes. Yep. And then there's also, as we mentioned earlier, but just official pictures or clips from practice, Lane Johnson and Adoree Jackson both practicing. So for those wondering on that side, Gavin Nolan did not leave the game early on Sunday against the Rams, but had the tricep injury. So Shout out to Anthony DeBona, who immediately has a tweet, because Anthony DeBona is the best. He immediately tweets, here's the final play of Nolan Smith with 46 seconds left in the fourth quarter, whatever it is, and he seems fine. So the re-aggravation was not something that bumped him out in the third quarter and we just all didn't see it happen, or no one talked about the fact that Nolan Smith secretly went to the blue tent. He played the entire game. They clearly just have probably been dealing with aggravation. It probably got a little bit worse on Sunday, and the doctors advised him it's either going to get fully worse and maybe you re-tear that tricep if you keep going, or we can let it heal without surgery, go through the whole rehab situation, and in 4 to 6 weeks, you come back and you're good to go. And I think that's exactly how it probably went down inside the building. And now we wait for Nolan Smith to come back. And again, feel pretty darn good about Darius Smith. He didn't have a great game on Sunday versus the Rams. Not a lot of people had a good game in terms of pass rush against the Rams, especially early on in that football game. But now they're getting close. But I'm saying sacks, right? Sacks have been the problem. But Darius Smith's been very, very good, and he looks the part. And Josh Uche's been good, too. He just can't stop the run. And so they got to get a little more creative. But Vic Fangio's the defensive coordinator, and he's been very creative with the entire pass rush since he came here, a year and a half ago now. And I think they're going to be just fine. Yeah, this is probably also going back to Nolan Smith, but probably one of those scenarios of a save him from himself type of thing. We all know the passion that Nolan plays with, but if you remember, anyone's watched the mic'd up clips or anything from the Super Bowl, having the torn tricep, he was not going to stay out of that game, and the trainers are basically like, no, you're good. Like, you've done enough. And so you appreciate the fact that he's willing to just go out there and basically put it all on the line and die on the football field. But this
Hmm.
is probably one of those like, look, you injured yourself. You could most likely still go out there and do something. But is it helping the team for you to be at whatever, and I'm making up a percentage, but is it helping the team for you to be at 70%, or would it help the team for you to get healthy, get back to 100%, be able to use both arms, and
Yeah.
then make the run towards the playoffs as we were talking about? So later in the year, will definitely pay dividends, but still, it hurts. Don't like to
Yep.
see that, obviously.
Yep.
Joaquin with the 2. Are there any moves you think Howie should make? He's made
Well,
some, but
I was gonna bring it up, right? And there are all these reports that we saw pre-Zadarius Smith that Howie Roseman was still hunting for edge rushers. Then they got Zadarius Smith, and all those went away because they got an edge rusher. There's a new report. I forget who it was. I was going to look into it, for tomorrow's show, but there are different insiders saying maybe Philadelphia still wants a cornerback. Who knows? But you still have to wonder about Trayvon Walker. I think Trayvon Walker is the only big splash edge out there that I think makes sense because Jacksonville's not very good. And I think the closer you get to week 8 in the trade deadline, we're going to know for sure that Jacksonville's not good. And that's when they could sell because he wants a new deal and maybe Philadelphia wants to do it. Now, it'd be a short-term rental because I don't know if you can afford to give Jordan Davis an extension and Jalen Carter an extension and Trayvon Walker an extension. Nolan Smith needs a new deal eventually as well. But you could rent him if you feel like renting is a good thing. And I don't think he'd be that expensive because it would be a rental and the Jags would be selling anyway. You give him a third-round draft pick and it's whatever. So that's the only name that makes sense. And there's another edge rusher that kind of appears like a Jalen Phillips with the Dolphins as you get closer to the trade deadline. Also makes sense. But I do think Zadarius Smith was that guy. And Azeez Ojulari, I mean, they gave him the most free agent money out of anybody this offseason, liked him at times during training camp, but then it was like clearly Josh Uche's had more, better days or the past couple of days at training camp, and then they put him on the, non-injured, whatever the list is, not active, I should say, list heading into games. And so they can just insert him in there and see if he turns into Azeez Ojulari from the Giants a couple of years back. And if that's the case, then they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's we all know that Howie is never fully done, so he's perusing, trying to keep an eye out for those. But I'm with you in the sense of I don't expect it to be any sort of major splash move, even with the injury here. Yes, you kind of make a case of like, well, okay, but this changes things, and it does. But it's also like you said there, Azeez Ojulari. I know that he was cheap, but they still have hope that he can turn into something. Josh Uche has made some plays. I'm skeptical of his ability against the run from what we saw against the Rams on Sunday. Maybe he can clean that up. Okoronkwo, there's something there. I mean, Vic Fangio talked about him in the past of liking what he presents in the game. So between the collection of those, they're probably just going to make that work. Now, if you suffered another injury, okay, at that point, a couple guys down, perhaps you try to go and make something else with the pass rush because you're talking about, 2 guys that are very significant. Again, that's assuming that something like that happens. Knock on wood. Hopefully, guys stay healthy. We don't have that occur. But ultimately, you look at this defense, and I've seen comments about this. People go, "Oh my gosh, the defense is, they're giving up 21 points per game, and it's just like that's way too much. It's absolutely ridiculous." It's like that's not that bad. Last year was 17.8 points per game. That was over the full course of the year. Like 21 points per game, and they're still figuring things out. Like they can start getting this thing really rolling. They're very close to those numbers. I know they can improve it. Yes, the run defense needs to be better. They need to get more sacks. The pressures are there. But overall, you look at this defense, and it is definitely good enough with the guys on the roster, combined with the guys on the offensive side that eventually will start clicking. We hope that they just keep it up from the momentum of the second half on Sunday. But I'm not so, I don't know, I'm not so sound the alarms of some people that I've seen out there, or some comments of like, oh gosh, this is just not the unit, or that we're missing pieces, or this is, I think that overall they're looking at it and saying, this should be good enough. If there's a little bit of a plug and play, we'll do that. But unless it's a major loss of a really significant starter, and probably at a position that we're already thin at, like I say, with a pass rush, it would be very surprising to me if we saw another, another type of trade. And even if you're going to give away something for a short term, you're still giving away draft capital. I know how we can recoup it, but it's still something. Elbert with a 5. We got Fred to back up Lane, which is sweet. That is sweet. When is Dean
Very
back?
sweet.
Thomas, please, one more awesome call this week. Birds will win 35-17. There we go.
There you go. First off, Dean is back after next week if he wants to, right? I mean, that's the pupless time frame. It's, it takes basically the first month and a half of the season to go ahead and come back. They don't have to then immediately put him on the football field either. They can wait a little longer, so we'll see. Patellar tendon, that's just, his knee problem. It's a big one, and they're not going to rush it back. And we talked to Nakobe Dean this offseason. We were up at the NovaCare complex, and he said just that. Feels good, but doesn't want to rush it back. He's been running. The Eagles put out a pretty good YouTube video today showcasing behind the scenes Nakobe Dean getting better, but either way. And then as far as 35-17, I hope you're right. I am cautiously optimistic. This is our best shot to beat Tampa the past 3 seasons. I know they won 2 years ago in the regular season, but that feels like eons ago. I'm cautiously optimistic. I just don't know about the offense. I did not like Kevin Patullo's press conference yesterday, Josh. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm sure it'll come out in your show here after our show, but
yep.
Kevin Patullo had every opportunity. Like, they gave him, and I like all, I'm not in the interview rooms. I'm not asking the questions, and so we got to go with what the beat writers are asking. Most of the beat writers in Philadelphia normally grill everybody, especially when things are going wrong. I thought there was a lot of softball questions for Kevin Patullo, and no one followed up on the fact that they asked him, were you too conservative? And he said, no, I don't think so. Like, our entire week we were saying we don't want to be attack. And yet people didn't follow up with, like, but you guys went 3 and out, like 4 straight drives and didn't throw the football deep or in the middle of the field. And the runs are very scripted. Like, nobody pressed them on the fact that they were awful in that first half. And Jalen Hurts bailed them out in the second half. And they got 2 block kicks and, a couple of missed throws by Matt Stafford. So I am cautiously optimistic we're going to see a better Eagle offense early in this game. But I could totally see Todd Bowles doing what Todd Bowles does against Philadelphia and lighting up Jalen Hurts. And suddenly we're losing and everyone's freaking out like we were the first half of last week. So I'm a little concerned.
It's a different, Jalen has been better against the blitz, but I said this, I think, yesterday. It's a different blitz with Todd Bowles than it is for most everybody else. So he's had the number of Jalen Hurts and thrown him off the spot, especially for the offense, regardless of what offensive coordinator it's been. So yeah, there's an element to it where I'm like, hopefully they stay aggressive and dictate terms. But even in Patullo's press conference, I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. I was like, okay, he's not admitting to anything, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I think it was Zach Berman, if I'm not mistaken. But essentially bringing up like, hey, AJ and Jalen referencing that it was too conservative, or we can't continue to play like this. Your thoughts? And KP goes, well, I don't know that I would say it's conservative. And then just kind of goes on the, typical word salad that we see from Sirianni, and now we've starting to see from KP as well. I don't know if it's they're just trying to kind of cover it right now because for some reason they don't want to.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if they want to share specifics. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the offensive coordinator position that regardless of who is in that role, it's a lot of just word salad. It's a lot of we're not getting much, and I know that Vic Fangio is one of one. He's his own man, and so it's special to get his press conferences because when we hear from him, he will reveal probably too much sometimes. Sometimes you gotta imagine.
I love him. I love Vic Fangio.
Howie and Sirianni are going like, yeah, you didn't really have to say that much. You could have just left it with the first bit, but it's whatever. So it is refreshing, but I don't know. Overall, I'm still. It's frustrating, but I'm kind of moving on at this point for me of like, let's just see Sunday. If Sunday is some of those similar issues and we don't take advantage and it's like, well, there you go. There's the first half of the Rams game again. We're continuing to see this. Then, all right, it's time. Like, I don't care too much of like show me rather than tell me. So I don't care too much at this point. But if we get another week or two and it's like we're not seeing it on the field and now there's no owning up to it, kind of holding yourself accountable and actually realizing it, then yeah, I'll have a little bit more of an issue. But at least, I mean, AJ voiced it. Jalen voiced it. They came right out and like, look, we got some dogs. We got some guys who have some ability. I don't know why you don't just let us go out there and roll, do our thing. So, it's been said. It's out there. You want to see it, though. Real quick, by the way, I just was going to go back to Elbert's comment. One more thing. You say, Thomas, one more awesome call. Yes, if you guys want to, feel free to come join us on the stream. We appreciate it. As always, had, I think, a combined almost like 170,000, 108, almost 200,000 people.
It was a lot.
For last week, which is insane. So yes, do come hang out. We'll be streaming as we do for all the games. And Thomas has the play-by-play, which, if there's just some random person out there who knows of anybody or any connections, just saying, there's a chance here that, if the Eagles were ever needing a backup fill-in for play-by-play, the tape's been put out there. That's all I'm going to say. So, it's
maybe
it's
one day.
In case, just saying, because
I'm not going to quit my
pretty
day
good job
holding my breath
as far as the play-by-play. So
I appreciate it.
Andrew with the 5. Okay, well, see, here's another one. Sign CJ. I knew this was going to come from somebody. Sign CJ.
Yeah, I was waiting for this.
I don't care if he rubs the building the wrong way. We are 18th in passing and 24th in stopping the run. Edges only have 3 sacks this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Gardner Johnson fixes any of those. CJ Gardner Johnson wasn't great in the pass early last season. I think he got a little bit better. Stopping the run, sure. He's not one of those true box safeties that comes in and really, plays linebacker, essentially. He's very good at being a safety and tackling in open field whenever they get to the second level, but I don't consider him a crazy good box safety. And listen, Josh and I have talked too much about what we've heard about CJ Gardner Johnson, more than we probably should have. But by now, you guys know that it's more than just money. And the fact that CJ Gardner Johnson was just cut for internal locker room issues by a Houston Texan team that just converted his base salary to $6.8 million in bonus money. They just paid him $7 million for 3 games and decided to cut him. There's no way. There's no way Philadelphia brings back Gardner Johnson, and mainly because it would affect Drew Makuba's playing time. If Drew Makuba got hurt, if it was Drew Makuba who just went on IR, maybe. Even then, I would say no, because I just don't think the locker room needs CJ Gardner Johnson. Mm-hmm. But they don't need him. And Drew Makuba's growing every single week. He was very good last week. I thought he did a good job this week. Didn't talk about him a lot. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. He's going to be way better than he is today. 3 months from now, whether it's December, January, hopefully February. And I do think Gardner Johnson has proven 6 teams in 5 years that whatever reason he rubs people the wrong way. And I get that Philadelphia went to Super Bowls with him, and they won one with him, and he wasn't the problem in Super Bowl 57. I'm just so out on Gardner Johnson. It's crazy because people just aren't reading between the lines here that he is a problem in the locker room. It's just a fact, right? He didn't get cut because of bad play by the Houston Texans. He got cut because he's a problem inside the locker room, and they didn't want him there.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, and when you say this, because I know that somebody's going to take this and run with it, you're not saying that CJ was playing incredibly well, because he had his issues at Houston, but it was not like if
not
he
enough
was,
to get cut,
right? Like here's the thing: if he was an All-Pro, playing like at an All-Pro level and just flat out ridiculous, and then there were these locker room issues, then perhaps it would be enough to try to just figure out some way possible to make this thing work, right? For Houston, probably for the Eagles as well. CJ made his plays, and I've said this before. It's like, look, give him credit. He helped us to get to a Super Bowl. He played on both teams. He started on both teams that made a Super Bowl. Tons of credit. Like, not going to knock him for that. But it is an element of whenever you get to the point of like, hey, it's been 6 teams, like you said, 6 teams in 5 years, or will be, assuming whenever he signs to another squad. There is the common denominator. There is the look yourself in the mirror. There is like, he's not the best safety. He's not a top 5 safety. He's not a top 10 safety probably in the league. He's good, but he gave up the most passing touchdowns in both seasons that he was here in Philly. He missed the most tackles in both seasons that he was here in Philly on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, the stats and the facts speak for themselves. Was he a contributing factor, still playing well? Yes, he made the interceptions. Again, he deserves credit for that, but he's also not the end-all be-all of like, my gosh, this is the best safety on earth. He's the best one in the NFL. Like, you got Makuba, so I'm 100% with you. Don't take away his snaps. It's the same instance we've seen with other guys that are younger, that are developing, that we want to see them. It's why Jahad Campbell's on the field right now. No offense to Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but it's why Jahad Campbell's on the field. You need him. You want him to get snaps. He's a game changer. He's electric. You're hoping and thinking that Makuba can be the same way. He's done it in a small sample size. He needs to get better. But the headache, the other stuff that comes along with it, it's just not needed. Again, we've talked about this till we're blue in the face, so it's probably too much. But like, if you wanted any sort of move, it would be a cornerback spot. And the idea of move CJ Gardner Johnson into the slot, Cooper DeJean outside, no, absolutely not. CJ is not that cover guy. He is not. That'd be way worse. And also, Coop is so good in the slot. I don't think that I really want to do that. I don't want to necessarily move him out there unless you found like we're talking about like a lockdown slot. Like we're talking Kenny Moore. Like you want to go get someone who's really good. Okay, fine. Maybe we move out Coop that side. But if it's a CJ Gardner-Johnson, no, that's too much. So,
which by the way, I see in the comments people are fighting. And this was all over Twitter yesterday. Can the Eagles actually sign him or not based on the NFL rule where you make a trade, can't re-sign somebody?
Yes, they can.
They can sign Gardner-Johnson because he was released, and where we're at in the season, 100% they can sign him. They won't, but they can. There is no rule right now prohibiting them from going ahead and signing Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen.
It's unfortunate because some people have said that, and I know there's been misinformation spread around. So
a lot of misinformation.
Was sharing it. We'll share it in the video later as well. But Ian Rappaport and others, depending on who you trust. But you got NFL insiders that are also echoing the same thing. So it's like not just beat writers of some people saying one thing or the other. NFL insiders are verifying that he could if Philly wanted to. Deontay with a 10. If we come out throwing the ball to back up the defense and then run, I'm going to be unstoppable. It's going to be unstoppable. That defense needs to come out playing like they do the second half, and then also Hurts is him. I agree with all that. Yes.
I would agree with all that as well.
The passing game is probably this year, at least the early part of the season. And we said this, right after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right as we're kind of, hey, let's look ahead to next season. It was teams are going to try to do this. Even though Hurts proved them wrong in the Super Bowl, teams are going to go to say, all right, we're going to take away Saquon. Can you do this for the entire season? One game is impressive, but can you do this for the entire season? So the Eagles have to dictate terms. They have to be aggressive. I'm 100% with you. If Jalen can go a couple games of like what he did in the second half, week 7, week 8, 9, the 9's the bye week, but week 8, 10, it's going to be night and day difference. Saquon, the holes will be better, the blocking's going to be better because the defense having to look out for the pass. But at this point, there has not been enough on tape, I don't think, to where they're saying, we'll see. Good luck. If you want to prove to us that you're willing to throw it that way. Jared with the 2. How can we, and here's the part of the defense. How can we fix our run defense? Go Birds.
I don't know what's wrong with the run defense. Like I've read a lot of comments here about the run defense, and it's just, I don't know, because Jordan Davis has really good games. It's not Jordan Davis. I think linebackers are missing a couple of tackles.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's something to the fact that Josh Uche and Jilix Hunt have not been very good against the run. I think that's a combination of a lot of things. I also think that the Ram offensive line does not get a lot of credit. They played very well even without a left guard. That was something we talked about all leading into the game, and then they blocked really well up front. And I do think there's something to Jalen Carter not being 100%. I know people talk conditioning, but him holding his wrist and then he goes on the injury list for like a day with a shoulder. It's the same shoulder he missed time at training camp for. He has plays in the All-22 where it's vintage Jalen Carter, and then he has plays where it's like, what's going on? And so I think there's something more there, and that would affect the run. And I do think Moro Ojomo hasn't been crazy special so far this season. Not been terrible. He's been better than last year, but myself, you, a lot of other people are really buying into Moro Ojomo hype, and it's not been he's not been Milton Williams. Let's just say that. And so all of those factors, I think, have kind of been there.
JD's got all the props for it. So we didn't expect him to be maybe to the level that he is so far, but he's been just ridiculous, which he deserves all the credit for that. But if Jalen Carter can be the Jalen Carter that we know, then it's a night and day difference. But I think it first starts. It is strange, but I do think that it first starts with the edge play. Nolan Smith has made some plays, but then we've obviously found out the injury and him not being able to use both arms fully, so that makes an impact. But I think that Josh Uche, we saw, and we were commenting on it during the live streams, like, look, if the Rams are lined up and they see Uche on the field, it's almost like an automatic. Like, we're going to run it. We're going to run it at his side because the number of times that he either crashed down too early and didn't set the edge, or he was trying to set the edge and just got obliterated and they just kept running that side, was like time and time again. You're like, oh, well, hey, who's the edge out there? Yep, it's Uche. So give him credit for all the pass rush. He's been getting pressures. He's been doing well in the pass rush, but the run game was a weakness, and the Rams definitely exploited that. So you got to imagine that the Bucs will try to do the same thing if he's on the field. It would make me think that Darius Smith, he played well in his first game, but he's got to he's in pretty good shape, but you wonder how great of shape because he hadn't been through, the practices or the camp and get signed to the team. Maybe this is a game where he can play a little bit more, but then it's also on the flip side of that, well, it's Tampa and the humidity and the heat and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
probably going to have to use more of a rotation, even if you don't want to. But I am buying more of Darius Smith and his run-stopping ability on the edge than I would like an Uche. Heck, we haven't seen Ojulari or Okoronkwo, but maybe they can hold up there. But I would say it still probably comes down to more of the edge play at this point for me than anything interior, even though they're not blameless. Hit Drip with a 5. What's up, guys? I'm late to the live, but I'm going to say no to CJ. Move forward, never backwards.
There you go. I'm with you, and I
agree.
appreciate the 5 because you're speaking to the choir right here. You're preaching to the choir. I totally agree.
Yeah, you know our thoughts there. Agree with you on that side. Cup with 5. Huge concern about the defense against the run right now. Just went into that. I know I'm getting to these in order, but yes, went into that. That there is some concern. I mean, to me, out of everything else, and I've said this too, lock up the run defense first. There may be some holes, there may be some worries like, well, okay, what are we going to do here because the pass game, they're giving up too much or whatever. Run defense, shore that up, make a team one-dimensional. Right now, it's been too much of, heck, you watch even the Dallas games. Dallas was able to run. Kansas City did not.
Yes.
Those stats are a little bit flawed because Mahomes
Right.
taking off and running, whatever, like he gained 60, 70 yards. That's not as big of a deal to me. But Dallas being able to dictate terms, I get this is the first game of the season. That is a little bit alarming. And then obviously the Rams doing what they did. Second half was much better. I think Kyron Williams was only like 3.5 yards a carry as opposed to well over 5 in the first half. They just got to get that consistency because that is what made the defense especially so good last year was you're like, well, you're definitely not going to be able to run. Like you just forget about it. Now the Eagles will probably be up because we had, gotten up on a lot of games and it was like the defense is just going to clamp down and the game's over. But if teams are able to be kind of dual faceted against us, then yeah, it's going to make life a whole lot more difficult. So shut down the run first. Andrew with a 2. CJGJ is Earl Thomas 2.0. Headache, not worth it.
Earl Thomas was pretty good early, much better than Gardner Johnson. But
better.
Sure. Sure. There's definitely a headache. You can make the case for Jamal Adams, although Adams was way better early on in his career, but the headache was definitely still there. But neither of those guys were moved around as much as Gardner Johnson has been moved around. Teams want nothing to do with them. He can't stay anywhere more than a year. That's the biggest, clearest red flag ever, is if no team, including a locker room as strong as the Philadelphia Eagles, especially last year they had Brandon Graham, don't want him. So, yeah, I'm almost tired of it. I'm almost tired of talking about Gardner Johnson because it's not going to happen. And I will come on here and be the first to tell you that I was totally wrong if they do sign him. I just am so confident. I just don't think that they're going to do that.
Yeah. And you look at, you look at the other locker rooms too. Like I have respect for the Texans and D'Amico Ryans. I do. Like, his way of going about things, same thing for Detroit and Dan Campbell. If you can't make it on those squads and they're like, nah, one year was enough. Yeah. We gotta try something else. It speaks volumes. So trying to read into it. Dre with the 5. CJ is a troll, and at some point we got to address a possible CTE issue with him because he's Antonio Browning his way to a blacklist.
I don't know. No comment on the CTE part.
Hopefully
but he definitely
not,
is not helping himself. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Not making the best of decisions. 5 more from Simo. Sit Steen, place Fred in at right guard. As soon as Fred was in the game, Saquon ran for 11 yards behind him. LOL, since KP likes inside zone so much.
I know that's kind of a troll because Steen's been really good.
But yes.
The problem has been Landon Dickerson. Dickerson's not healthy. The problem has been Landon Dickerson. They can't run on the left side of this offensive line at all. They also don't run enough outside zone or outside stretch plays to get Saquon just outside the tackle and in space. That's a whole other Kevin Patullo issue. They just run simple zone reads on the inside way too much. But Steen has not been the problem. Steen's been just fine.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that. I obviously know there's a little bit of sarcasm there too because we're not moving Fred Johnson to the guard, even though as much as we love Fred played really well, but he is that tackle option. And look, it's a breath of fresh air. Yeah. As bad as it was for Matt Pryor, it's a breath of fresh air to at least see Fred play that way to go, okay. Because before Fred got here, we both were saying this of like, if you have Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata go down, look out. Like there's nothing that we've seen from preseason. There's not a whole lot that we've heard from training camp of to be confident if they had to go with a backup at tackle. But now that Fred is here, it took them too long, but they finally moved him into the position and took Pryor out of it. It's at least some confidence and a confidence builder to go, Hopefully no one gets injured, but if they do, and we've seen it in multiple seasons with both Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, you got a guy that you can use, and Fred Johnson is him.
Yep.
Good place to be in. Let's see. I got a 10 from Bryson. Appreciate that, Bryson. Says they have light boxes. The defense is bend but don't break. 4-2-5 generally. Has runs problems, especially if you don't have any game breakers. Yeah, I mean, Vic's going with his typical, most of his typical format, right? I mean, he's running it in nickel, but he did that a lot last year, and it was much better. Like, I hear you. It's a fair point, Bryson, because that is a lighter box, and offenses can run against it, but I forget the percentage. We talked about this all year last year, and I forget the percentage. But Vic ran nickel like an ungodly amount of times. But it was so successful because Coop was a ridiculous tackler. We were like, oh, it's basically like having another linebacker in the box. To me, it's just this year, and you can't exactly pinpoint it, but I still would maintain a lot of it is on the edge. The guys are not getting off blocks, or either that or linemen are not holding up blockers as much to allow a guy like a Cooper DeJean or a safety to come down and make a tackle. They've missed some, for sure. We'll knock them for that. They've missed some tackles, but they're not having the same type of effect that they did last year. But it's early.
Yep.
Bryson with 5 more, though, by the way, also says mentality sets the Eagles apart. CJ brought the Philly mentality on the defensive side of the ball.
The problem is not his mentality on the field. It's his mentality off the football field. That's not worth the mentality on the football field. That's the whole problem.
Yeah. And if we didn't have, we've talked about this too, but if we didn't have guys with that Philly mentality in the locker room, if it was 2023 and we got guys that are just going to be pushed around in pregame and be like, oh, well, we're just kind of a soft team, like do whatever you want to us, then, there's maybe a little bit more of an argument. You still don't want to put up with stuff in the locker room, but you got plenty of guys who are not going to stand up for something. If anything happened this season, it's not going to be like the Niners game where you have the clips of them, getting the pregame walkthroughs getting interrupted because they're just allowing the Niners to walk through. They're allowing them to push. There's not really any retaliation like that. They're like, no. If that happens this year, you got way too many guys who are going to stand up to that. So I'm out on it for that reason. You got enough, as you call it, Philly mentality guys on the defense there. We should be fine. Red Scorpion with the 5. What's wild? Fans who think they know how to honestly run an NFL team. CJGJ was deemed a problem people by several teams, so cut it out.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. Nice, short, sweet, to the point.
There we go. And, we can be wrong too. I mean, it's also a fair point on the reverse of that. We can be wrong ourselves, but we are what we've been told and then agreeing with some of the other NFL teams. But NFL teams make mistakes,
Yep.
I mean,
all the time.
I know that people are tired of hearing about it, but Isaiah Rodgers is the first case in point that anybody can bring up to. So, sure, absolutely. But Zay's also not been, he's been 3 different teams, I guess, but he's not been 6 teams in 5 years.
Right.
Corey with the 10. What do you guys truly think this team needs to be a Super Bowl team? Love you guys. Go Birds. Appreciate that.
I don't think they need anything. I think that they need the offense to get its act together, and I do think that the defense has to stop the run. I think that those are the 2 things that need to happen right now. They don't need to add anybody, and I think that they can still go on a run. They're on a run right now, but go on a continued run even with the Nolan Smith injury out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So, I don't see it as they need to do anything in terms of adding players. They just need to make sure that this offense is the second half of the Rams going forward and never again the first half. Because if we see the first half again, it's going to be a real problem. And people are going to abandon ship because they would do this a little bit in 2023 where they would have a quarter, have a half, have a game, and then they would have a really bad quarter and a really bad half, a really bad game. And they did that consistently until it bit them in the butt versus the Niners late in the season, and then it was all downhill from there, right? You just don't want to have that duplicated this season. They have way better talent in order to avoid that. But at the same time, you just got to make sure that Kevin Pasculo is not going to duplicate what Brian Johnson did, and that would be my only concern.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that this team, as it stands, same thing that you just said, Thomas, but as it stands, they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. They have way more than enough talent. You have that offense playing up to its level that it can. I mean, just about any defense, take any defense in the league, just about anyone, they should be able to score 30 points. That should be about the minimum there. If they take advantage and they capitalize as they should score about 30 points. And then if you give me the defense that we have, there are some holes. There's some areas, and I say holes in the sense of like, yeah, they need to clean some things up. But like the players they have, they're more than good enough. As we said, 21 points per game, and it should get better. The second half of games, they've only allowed 14 points. And by the way, somebody also brought this up too. They've allowed 14 points, but one of those is it's still technically against them, but it's like 10 yards, right? Like Jalen got sacked, fumble, and they're 10 yards away. The Rams just immediately go and score. So it's a massive difference. If you talk about a team that's gone the length of the field to score a touchdown in the second half, they've only given up one. It's one of those scores, 7 points against Kansas City. So I'm not overly concerned by any means. I also try to put it into perspective, and I know every year is different, but you look back to last year, week 4 is whenever we got destroyed. We got, I mean, every it was offense, it was defense, it was special teams, and we all going into the bye week were like, yeah, this is pretty dire situation here. I mean, it looks like 2023. It feels like 2023. It smells like it. Like there's not a whole lot of optimism that we were coming for. It was maybe they can change things in the bye week, but there was not a lot of optimism in that. Now I know that they had injuries, so there is a little disclaimer there that we can throw out. But on the defensive side of the ball, they had enough guys to where no one at that present moment, I don't think. I mean, I'd be shocked. I'd be floored. But no one at that present moment would have said, oh, this will be the number 1 defense in the NFL. Just watch. Yeah. This will be the number 1 defense in the NFL when the season's over. Nobody would have said that. You just allowed 33 points and Baker Mayfield to carve you up. And I think until the late third quarter, they had been 100% on third downs. I mean, it was like every single conversion that they were getting. So I would just say that of like, look, we haven't even made it to week 4 yet. Give it some time.
Totally agree.
Get things right of the ship. They've got a later bye week, which, judging by the injuries now and everything, it maybe helps in a way there. You get some extra time for guys to get fully healthy and recovered. So, I think there's more than enough of what this team has. They just got to start playing a little bit better, but they're still 3-0. This is not a team that's got a loss in the loss column. Shout out to Atiba. Welcome to Let's Run It membership. Congratulations there. Also, Chaotic Green with a 10. Nakobe Dean is better against the run than Campbell, in my opinion. He is a stud, but Nakobe reacts a bit faster to run plays at this point. I see them splitting time when he gets back on obvious rundowns.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to know for sure, right? Because we haven't gotten enough of a sample for Jahad Campbell. But there's an argument, sure. But I think Campbell's done a very good job of everything with a linebacker. He's better in pass coverage than Nakobe Dean for sure, and they might want that more than run stopping at this point. But I wouldn't agree that Dean is much better, and then is he going to be much better post injury? These things are above my pay grade, and why obviously Vic Fangio makes the call.
Yeah, we trust him though. We believe in his adjustments and his situation. So it's situational calling. But it's totally fair. I mean, I agree with the Nakobe Dean sentiment. Personally, I feel like they'll also just stick with one guy just for the rhythm and everything else that it plays. But
maybe
but
so too. Yeah.
Bryson with a 5. The Eagles mentality changes people. Case in point, Carter was a hothead, but being around the Eagles changes the way he talks and acts.
Except for week 1, but yes. Yeah. A little bit of a hothead. And
last year against New Orleans and his rookie year against the Niners. And
last week's taunting against the Rams. So
but sure.
There's some things out there. But sure.
That's not totally wrong, though, Bryson. You are right. Like, being around the right people, if he was not around the Philly Dogs and in the Philadelphia, sure, it would be a different scenario. I try to equate it to, like, real-world application, but there's not a lot of companies that I can think about where, like, if you choose to leave, maybe it's a little bit of a different scenario, but I can't think of a lot of companies that you get fired twice, essentially, or not a contract renewed twice, and then the third time they're kind of like, yeah, you know what? Let's try this again. Let's bring it back here for a third time. That doesn't usually work out, and it's not this. It doesn't usually work out in the NFL either. Thomas with the 5. What's up with the title? Just got on. The only 2 channels I go to for updates. We appreciate that. Fly Eagles Fly.
Appreciate that. You can always go back and start from the beginning.
I was going to say,
I would do that.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith is out for 4 to 6 weeks. He's on IR. That's with his re-aggravated the same tricep that he tore in the Super Bowl. There you go.
Yes, sadly. That's the biggest news. Jahad Campbell, Zach
There's a lot more, but yes.
Limited practice, some other updates there. But yeah, biggest one, IR for Nolan. Did not like that. Maxwell with a 5, expecting a big day from Saquon on Sunday, over 100 rushing for the first time this season. Man, I hope so.
I hope so. We forget that the one thing that worked in that Bucs loss last year was Saquon Barkley. I don't know if he had 100 or was close to it, but he did have a rushing touchdown. he was the lone impressive part of that Bucks loss.
Yes, and the Bucks have been really good against the run this year. Not to say that they can't be gashed in this game, but I want to say they're like top 5. We have more preview stuff for you guys closer to the game that we do for the game previews. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because Saquon's surely due at some point. 3.3 yards per carry is not going to hold up for the season. It is going to get better. It's just a question of when. So look out. I mean, I like it. It's a contrarian play. People would say that others are trending not that direction, but did you hear the dogs in the background there?
I do hear the dog in the background, yes.
So some sort of package. Elbert with a 5. Guys, the Eagles are still pretty damn good, even with KP in learning mode. Give him time to get it together. This team is a Super Bowl contender 100%.
That is the hope. We did say that about Brian Johnson, was that it was learning mode, the Jets game and stuff like that. But we hope that Ken Patullo has already learned and he'll adjust this weekend. So we'll see.
He's got some time. He's we'll see. I'm holding out hope. He's been through it more. I know that they're both new, and we do the comparisons of Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo was here when that happened. He has experienced the ups. He's experienced the downs. He's been behind the scenes, but he's seen it front and center at the same time, like in a way of like, oh my God. I mean, could you imagine being in the building and you see all the scrutiny that Brian Johnson gets, right? So, like, none of this is new to him. Like, him going into it, he knew exactly what he's going to walk into every single press conference because he's been around it for way too long to know. So, I think he understands it from that element. That should help him from that side. And he is, I believe, growing. We need to see more of that aggressiveness. We need to see them dictate terms. It was interesting that he kind of caught himself a little bit in the press conference whenever he made a statement that kind of sounded like they see what the defense does and then they adjust and everything. And then I think it was Zach Berman who then followed up and was like, well, okay, so just philosophically, is it like being reactive and like why would that be the case versus not proactive and things like. And then Patullo's like, oh no. He's like, no, we want to do our stuff, like we want to run our offense. So he corrected himself and. Still, it's like they're trying to be so guarded that sometimes I'm like, is it so much to the extreme of they're not trying to share anything that it just sounds like utterly ridiculous most of the time, or is it the actual belief of things and they're just saying stuff and it's like, wow, that's a little bit confusing or alarming. I think it's probably the former, but ultimately, I think we all realize, like, look, you have to be aggressive, you have to dictate terms with the playmakers that you have, and especially we saw it in the Super Bowl. So, Atiba with a 5 more. I watch the live stream occasionally. Thomas, you're my guy, but you got to stop panicking, bro, when you think the Eagles are going to lose. LOL.
Come on. I was not the only person who was panicking 26-7. Do not tell me you thought they were going to come back and win that football game. I admitted it, and I took it during the live stream in the fourth quarter when they came back that I was wrong. But don't act like we were all sitting here being like, they're fine. The offense is going to, score 3 straight touchdowns, and they're going to block 2 kicks. Not a problem. No, you were panicking too. Everybody was panicking.
There's an option.
It was that bad.
I was going to say, there's an option, some fact checking here. There's an option to go back to the live stream.
You go back and watch.
And you can watch the live stream comments at the same. You can see how many comments are like, this is 2023. I told you guys. This is Brian Johnson. This game's over. I'm turning it off. I'm still hanging with you guys. The game is over, though. Like all the other comments. So, I don't knock people for that. I'm the eternal optimist to a fault sometimes. So, but I still was extremely doubting. Mine had almost moved to like the weeks to come. I was like, I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt. This is terrible, but I still am holding out hope. But I did see a couple people that posted they had took a bet on Philly in that moment. So you made a pretty penny.
Okay.
Kai with a 2. Happy birthday, JD. Well, thank you. It's a little bit early, but we're
early.
2 days away.
Yeah,
almost there. But thank you. I appreciate that, Kai. I heard Dunk. My day is complete. Yeah, you did. You heard Dunk and
yes, you did
it as well.
Yes, you did.
They're making sure that everybody hears that. So, not my birthday today. 2 days away. Almost there. Appreciate you guys. Okay, I think we covered all the topics and news and everything else. Usually, again, you guys know we're typically a 7:30 Eastern time ish for the Wednesday link, but with the news and the updates and the IR status for Nolan Smith and everything, we obviously had to hop on and keep you guys posted. So appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe stay tuned. Everything else, we got more videos and previews and everything on that side. So we'll keep you posted. Other injury updates, things from practice. Stay tuned. Crazy giveaways. You guys make it possible. So again, we cannot thank you guys enough. And wait, did I miss one? Eagle Nation said my super chat. Hang on, did I miss one? I thought I got one. Oh,
I didn't see it, but did you?
Oh, okay. Hang on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was doing that right as okay. Yeah, I think the dogs one confused me. I'm sorry. I got you. We're still here. Eagle Nation with the 5. So is corner still our biggest concern, or is it edge rusher now? This is the last super chat.
I would say it's still corner. It's still corner for the time being. I think that they got plenty of edge rushers.
Okay. Yep. I agree too. Yeah. I would say Adoree needs to. He had a better game. I'll just end with this. Adoree had a better game against the Rams. I still need to see him prove it like a couple more games because I'm just not, for whatever reason, buying into him being the answer. But if he can prove it for a couple more games, then I would go, all right, hey, you know what? Maybe that's the answer. He'd be good enough.
Check on Corey No. Says you missed a super chat of his. Just to make sure. I didn't see it, but if you did, let's make sure we get that one.
Okay, yep. Sorry. Yeah. Again, I apologize. I'm going through in order, and sometimes we occasionally miss. There we go. I'm sorry about that. Gotcha, Corey. Fun question. If you could have one dream player pick up, who would it be again? And thanks for all you do.
I'm realistic. I don't know if I can't go dream. I go realistic, and even this is still a dream. Would be Trayvon Walker or Jalen Phillips. That would be mine.
I like those. Yeah. I mean, the ultimate dream player pickup, I think, especially at this point, is going to be for cornerback. I was going to say Patrick Surtain. I was going to give 2 dream pickups. So either Patrick Surtain, or if you want to go for pass rusher, if people believe it's the edge rusher, Myles Garrett. But again, that's like those are total
impossible
dreams.
Those
like everyone's doing that trade on Madden. Like everybody's already made that trade. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to just rock solid, run this thing back. But yeah, it's the absolute ridiculous that is not possible. So, okay. I think I got the super chats. Usually we're good on those, but I apologize to Corey and to Eagle Nation. We got you guys though. Matt looks like the last one here, I believe, with a 10. Thank you for that, Matt. Greatest job as always, boys. The offense is going to have to be on point this week. Defense is taking a big hit. I was panicking. My wife, as was turning, my wife was turning the TV off. So during the game.
See,
so
I wasn't the only one.
There's lots of those. Yep.
I agree, though. Offense has got to get to work this weekend, big time, time.
Absolutely. But we'll see it. So again, come hang out with us. We'll be streaming Sunday for the game. More videos, everything else. Appreciate you guys again. We'll see you. Go Birds.
Go Birds.